Alright, how's it going, guys? Today we're going to be taking a look at the Detroit Red Wings and going over who I believe they should draft with the 6th overall pick in the 2019 NHL Draft. So in this video I'm going to be basing my selection based on positional needs and not just based on best available. And to do this, we're going to take a look at their depth charts and go over where perhaps they are weak in some areas and where the draft can significantly help there. Let's get into it. So on center, we have Dylan Larkin, Frans Nielsen, Michael Rasmussen, Clendening, and some other prospects like Joe Veleno. On left wing, we have Thomas Vanek, Andreas Athanasiou, Darren Helm, Tyler Bertuzzi, Jacob Delarose, Philip Zadina, and some other prospects. On right wing, we have Anthony Mantha, Justin Abelkader, Martin Furk, Yevgeny Svechnikov, and some other prospects. On defense, we have Mike Green, Danny DeKeyser, Trevor Daley, Kronwall Eriksson, Madison Bowie, Cholowski, Joe Hicketts, and some other prospects. And net we have Jimmy Howard, Jonathan Bernier, and some other prospects. Alright, and so what do I think when taking a look at this team? Where do I think drafting can help Detroit's positional needs? Well, in my opinion, it's pretty obvious, and it's going to go back to the 2018 draft when Detroit picked up Philip Zadina instead of Quinn Hughes. Now, if you guys recall, this was a pretty big shocker. Quinn Hughes, of course, is a Michigan boy. He seems like the perfect fit for the Detroit Red Wings, who lack that defenseman of the future. Well, a top 2 defenseman of the future. So in terms of drafting, Detroit should definitely prioritize drafting a potential top 2 defenseman, because that's just something that they severely lack here. And their defensive core, we have Mike Green, Danny DeKeyser, who are serviceable top 4 defensemen. Other than that, we have Trevor Daley, Nicholas Kronwall, who's, his contract's up. We'll see what happens in the offseason if he'll sign like a more veteran presence contract. We have Madison Bowie, Cholowski, and I apologize, guys, someone who I didn't emphasize before was Filip Hronek, who had a very good season last year, putting up 23 points in 46 games and having 24 points in 31 games in the AHL. Just really great numbers, and it actually looks like he also had a fantastic World Championships, putting up 11 points in 10 games. So very intriguing prospect there. Looks like he can make the jump next year and become a solidified top 4 defenseman. So down the middle, we of course have Dylan Larkin, who is that number 1 guy. Other than that, though, it very much drops off. So we have Frans Nielsen, who, I don't know, he's more of a fringe top 6 player in my opinion, probably better off on the 3rd line. Michael Rasmussen, who is definitely a very intriguing guy, the 6'6" center winger. I don't know, we'll see if where his game transitions, whether that's wing or center. Being that Detroit lacks center depth, I would assume that they lean towards center, but who knows? He's definitely very intriguing with that size, with that skill. If he was able to develop into a 2nd-line player, that would just be fantastic. Of course, we have Luke Clendening, who is definitely more of a bottom 6 player. And then highlighting one of probably their best prospect down the middle is Joe Veleno, who of course Detroit picked up at the end of the 1st round in 2018, who in some scouts' minds was a top 10 pick that they somehow drafted, I believe, 30th overall. Let me just double check that. Yes, 30th overall. And he had a fantastic year in the Q, and if he looks to project to be like a top 6 forward, that is great. On left wing, we have Thomas Vanek, whose contract is actually up, but if I were Detroit, I would probably try signing him for at least 1 more year. He definitely provides some really good secondary scoring. Other than that, we have Andreas Athanasiou. Athanasiou had a really good breakout season last year, scoring 30 goals. Just fantastic. He's looking like, a top 6 forward who could definitely slot in nicely with like a Dylan Larkin. Other than that, we have Tyler Bertuzzi. I've always been a big fan of Tyler Bertuzzi. He also had a really good breakout here. He reminds me a lot of like a Matthew Tkachuk, really good sandpaper player who also has good offensive upside. Definitely exciting and definitely a really important piece to have on an NHL roster nowadays, now that, the enforcer players are going away. A player like Tyler Bertuzzi who has that sandpaper grit is very necessary. Other than that, we of course have like Jacob Delarose and Philip Zadina being their main prospect. So if Philip Zadina does pan out to be a top 6 forward, that would just be great. Honestly, guys, in terms of winger depth, Detroit is doing a decent job. And then on right wing, they have Anthony Mantha, who again had a decent breakout season last year and is looking like a potential 30-40 power forward goal scorer. On right wing, we also have Justin Abelkader, who is a bottom 6 forward. Martin Furk and Yevgeny Svechnikov, who was drafted 19th overall in 2015. Kind of controversial considering, there is a lot of good talent selected after him, including Brock Besser. But if he does pan out to be that, winger sniper, that again would be awesome. So when looking at this roster, what do I think? Well, if the rumors are true and both Chicago and Colorado are both targeting forwards, if you guys didn't watch my last video where I talked about, who's going to be drafted 3rd overall, I talked a lot about how in recent drafts, teams have been very much emphasizing and prioritizing center depth. The 2019 draft is very center heavy. There is a lot of potential top 6 centers in this draft, way more than 2018. So if teams do prioritize center depth, I could see a Byram somehow slipping, and Byram in my opinion is the 3rd best player in this draft, but I could see him somehow slipping to the 5 spot. And if I were Detroit, I would definitely target or phone up LA Kings and see what I can do to move up to number 5 and pick Byram. Byram is looking like he's going to be a projected, top 2 defenseman who has really good offensive upside and who has a really good complete game. So if they were able to pick up a Byram, that would be huge. That would be the number 1 guy if I were Detroit to, target. However, he may be gone as soon as 3 or 4. So if they're not able to pick up a Byram, my next bet, and this is obvious, is center depth. Dylan Larkin, of course, is that bona fide number 1 centerman, but other than that, there isn't a lot of pieces here. We have some bottom 6 guys and some other guys that, we're putting a lot of weight on to pan out, like Michael Rasmussen. Joe Veleno is looking very intriguing, but again, you can't really put a lot of weight on these guys who aren't even proven in the NHL yet. So picking up a centerman at number 6 would be great, because again, there's going to be a lot of fantastic talent at the 6th spot. Whether that's a Turcotte, whether that's, a Kirby Dach, a Zegras, a Dylan Cozens, there's going to be a lot of really good talent at the 6th spot. So if they can't get Byram, at least they can get, a Zegras or a Dylan Cozens. So just to sum it up, I guess if they can't get Byram, which I think that should be the number 1 guy they target, I believe picking up a Trevor Zegras or a Dylan Cozens should be their number 1 priority. Building out that center depth for Detroit's, future is very important. It's not very strong at the moment, so picking up some more pieces would be great. Anyways, guys, let me know who you think Detroit should draft down below. Appreciate all the support, guys. Thanks for watching.